What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I've got another transfer special for you, and this one's going to be a bit of a continuation from yesterday's video. I've got a Hakimi update for you, and I've also got reports coming out that Sarri is looking to raid Chelsea for all our second string rubbish. So this one's going to be an interesting one, so if you enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you're new around here to stay up to date with new videos, and let's get straight into it. I'll kick things off with a little bit of a continuation from yesterday's video. There's been an update in the Hakimi deal. Chelsea have reportedly leapfrogged Paris Saint-Germain to become favourites to sign Inter Milan star Hakimi. Football Insider understands that the 22-year-old is wanted by both the Giants, who have offered £56 million to the Italian club, with Inter having knocked back both bids as they hold out for an offer in the region of £68 million. It's understood that personal terms will not be an issue for Chelsea in a potential deal for Hakimi, as these have already been agreed with the player, which is why Chelsea have an edge over PSG in the pursuit of this deal. The Blues also have an advantage over PSG in talks with Inter, as they have players to offer in a part exchange or who could head to the Serie A champions in separate deals. Now, I think we all agree this move would be a huge boost for Chelsea's title push next season, but it won't be without its repercussions. The problem with having such an elite academy and Chelsea's obsession with signing world-class players is that inevitably some of these promising youngsters will have their path to the first team blocked by these new signings. And as we've seen in the past, this appears to be the case here, as since these reports have come out, coinciding reports have come out that Livramento and Hudson-Odoi could be linked with moves away due to the incoming of Hakimi. Livramento is a promising young right wing-back who's been one of the standout players for Chelsea's development squad this season, registering 2 goals and 4 assists and picking up Chelsea's Academy Player of the Season in the process, an award that the likes of Mason Mount, Reece James and Fikayo Tomori have won in the past. Livramento's playstyle is actually extremely similar to that of Hakimi. He's a very attack-minded right wing-back, so much so that he's occasionally deputized at right wing for the development side. But like Hakimi, he's also capable of filling in on the left-hand side of defense, as Hakimi did for Dortmund during his 2-year loan spell there. And despite Livramento training with the first team and Tuchel having good things to say about him, his first team opportunities are set to be limited if Hakimi was to arrive from Inter this summer. And Aston Villa are reportedly looking to capitalize on this. By making a move for the 18-year-old. Goal are reporting that Livramento could explore a move elsewhere this summer, with Aston Villa being proposed as a viable option, as well as AC Milan. Personally, I wouldn't like to see Livramento leave on a permanent transfer. I think a loan move would be best to aid his development, like we did with the aforementioned Mount, Reece James and Tomori. We really don't want another situation on our hands where we lose another young talented player as he sees his path to the first team blocked. As when this has happened a few times in the past, it's come back to bite us in the ass. We all know Lukaku and De Bruyne. And I think a loan move probably suits all parties involved, as Livramento has plenty of time on his side to break his way into the first team. He's only 18, and even if he did go on loan for 2 years or so, by the time he came back, he'd still only be 20 years old. And I think it needs to be put into perspective just how young that is in footballing terms. Just because breakout stars like Haaland and Mbappe make such an impact at 18 and stuff doesn't mean that that's the case for all players. And 20 is still extremely young, and he has plenty of time, and he would have plenty of time to break into the first team and make a mark at Chelsea. Hudson-Odoi is the second young promising player being linked with a move away from Chelsea in the wake of this Hakimi deal. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting really sick of these Hudson-Odoi to Bayern Munich rumors. They seem to come out every single window. Bayern are clearly just pumping stories to journalists every single window, saying that they're looking to make a move for Hudson-Odoi. And every window after these reports come out, contradicting reports come out from people who are actually close to Chelsea, saying that Hudson-Odoi is looking to stay and fight for his place at the club. People around Bayern are constantly yapping about Hudson-Odoi. Their president's talked about him. Hansi Flick has talked about him last season. And they just can't seem to let it go that he signed that 5-year deal with us instead of moving to them. And because of that 5-year contract, I cannot see Chelsea looking to sell him. There's no pressure to sell him. There's so much confidence and belief around the club that he's going to become that superstar that he looked like he was capable of becoming when he first broke through into the team under Sarri. And like Livramento, I hope we do not sell Hudson-Odoi, because this one especially I think will come back to bite us. We've all seen just how talented he is, and it's not like he hasn't been producing at the top level already. I know he's underwhelmed slightly due to our extremely high expectations of him, but I I genuinely don't think he's been as bad as people are saying. I think when Tuchel came in and he was playing right wing back, he was definitely our most dangerous player. And despite finding starting opportunities hard to come by in the tail end of the season, Tuchel is reportedly extremely excited about the player and has plans to keep him at the club. And I think that's the right move personally. He's still extremely young, similar to Livramento. He's only 20. He's got plenty of time on his side to fill the potential that we all know he has. And I think most Chelsea fans would agree, we would appreciate it if all these German publications could stop pumping out these stories every window about Hudson-Odoi to Bayern Munich. Because personally for me, it's not going to happen. They can hope and pray as much as they like, but he's not going to go. We're not going to sell him. We have no need to sell him. And I cannot see this happening. So for all of our sakes, please stop pumping out these stories, because they're really getting fucking tiring, honestly. The last report I've got for you guys is in regards to Sarri reportedly looking to raid Chelsea for a bunch of our backup dross, which I'm more than happy about. You guys will probably have seen over the past 2 days or so that Lazio have announced Sarri as their new manager after Inzaghi left to go to Inter Milan. And reports are now coming out that he's set to raid Chelsea for Loftus-Cheek, Kepa, and Marcus Alonso. Now, I'll start this off with Kepa. Whoever wrote this must have some serious imagination. If this was to happen, obviously I wouldn't complain. I think it's probably best for both parties if Kepa was to leave this summer. But I just cannot see him reuniting with Sarri. We all know what happened in that Carabao Cup final against Man City. And to think that after that, Sarri would go out of his way to pursue Kepa as a transfer target is just ridiculous, if you ask me. It's not even like Lazio have a bad goalie. They have Strakosha, who's a perfectly fine goalkeeper. He's certainly better than Kepa. So props to whoever dreamt up this story, because for me, it's completely ridiculous. There's zero chance that Sarri would look to bring Kepa in, if you ask me. You don't refuse to come off the pitch for a manager, and then he goes, you know what? Fuck it. I'll bring you to the next club with me. So for me, that one's just ridiculous. The Marcus Alonso one, I think, is probably more realistic. I don't know if Lazio will be able to afford what Chelsea were asking. I think last summer, Chelsea were asking for around 20 million. Alonso was a favourite of Sarri's when he was at Chelsea. He started 31 games in the league for Sarri. I think this one is plausible if Lazio were able to stump up the cash that Chelsea would desire. We have 3 left backs at the moment, definitely looking to get rid of one of them. For me personally, I'd get rid of both Alonso and Emerson, and I'd look to either promote Ian Maatsen or Hakimi as the backup option at left back, as he played there for the 2 seasons that he was at Dortmund. I think if this move was to go through, I'd be pretty positive about it. Alonso's been a great servant for this club, but his performances over the past few years have really tailed off, and he's on a bit of a downward trend at the moment. So I think it's best for Chelsea to cash in while we still can. I think he's 30 or 31 now, and he's starting to get on a bit. So I think it's best if Chelsea cash in, get the money, get his wages off the book, and look to reinvest in other positions where we're not as stocked, and to create a pathway for younger players like Ian Maatsen to make their way into the first team. The last player to be linked with a reunion with Sarri at Lazio is Loftus-Cheek. We all know Loftus-Cheek played his best football under Sarri, so it's obvious as to why Sarri would look to bring him in. In 40 games in the 18-19 season, Loftus-Cheek got 10 goals and 5 assists, which was by far his best return of his career, and he was definitely in the form of his career under Sarri. Sarri started off preferring Barkley and Kovacic in that left centre mid position, but as the season went on, Loftus-Cheek really made a name for himself and solidified his position in the team in that spot. In that season, Loftus-Cheek was comfortably Chelsea's second best player beside Hazard, who was on fire that year. So it makes sense for Sarri to look to bring Loftus-Cheek in. Although I do think Lazio already have a player in a similar mold to Loftus-Cheek in Milinkovic-Savic, who could play in that left centre mid role in Sarri's 4-3-3. I absolutely love Loftus-Cheek, and I would love to see him make it at Chelsea. But for me, I think his time's come and gone. He's not that young anymore. I think he's 24. He's turning 25. And since that unfortunate injury and that stupid friendly, I know it was for a good cause, but since he did his Achilles, he hasn't been the same player. This year, he's only scored 1 goal in the Prem. And I think it's probably best for him to look for a new change of scenery and to move on, and for Chelsea to get a bit of cash for him while we still can. I can't see him breaking into this Chelsea team under Tuchel either. I don't think those 2 centre mids suit him. He's not a 6, but he's also not a 10. And we don't play with a number 8, which is by far his best position in my opinion. And as much as it would pain me to see him go, I think it's probably best for both parties if Chelsea were to part ways with Loftus-Cheek. And I think Lazio and a reunion with Sarri wouldn't be the worst option, as Sarri is the manager who's got the most out of him. And I would love to see him go on and be successful. So for this one, I would like this one to happen. I still think it's probably a little unlikely. They might get him on loan if they're willing to pay his wages, but he is on a huge salary. And I don't know if Lazio would be able to finance the 100 grand a week that Chelsea would ask for. I think Loftus-Cheek would thrive at Lazio, and it'd be really nice to see him re-find his form and potentially break his way back into the England team, as things looking so promising after the 18-19 season. One thing I would add though is I would take all these reunion reports with a grain of salt, as when Sarri got announced as the Juventus manager last year, there were constant reports about him wanting plenty of Chelsea players. I remember Kante, Emerson, Alonso, and if I remember correctly, not a single one of our players went to Juventus. So I would keep that in mind when discussing these reports, that it's sort of a common thing that every time a previous manager gets appointed a new job, they look to raid their old club. So I would keep that in mind. I think the Marcus Alonso one is probably the most viable. The Loftus-Cheek would be the most interesting. And the Kepa one, for me, is just a bunch of rubbish. That's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of those 6 deals. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to stay up to date with new videos. Thanks for watching.